by Timefall.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome along to Cheltenham on the 100th anniversary of the most prestigious prize in jump racing. It is the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. And while the sun is trying to poke its head out there, make no mistake, it is going to be attritional. 9 mils of rain fell overnight, but we're here, we're looking forward to it. And just here, there's a fresh strip of ground where the horse is going to be thundering down here today, about 20 to 4. What is going to win it? Fast or slow? Had a window operation since last saw him from Martin Brazel. So many horses you can make a case for. Nasalim, he will love the underfoot conditions, but there's no doubt there's one horse to beat. Last year's winner, Galopin Des Champs.
And it's Galopin Des Champs taking it to another level in the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup. As they range down to the final fence, Brave Man's Game and Galopin Des Champs, but Galopin Des Champs landed running and he's away as they race up the hill. He goes a length clear, 2 lengths clear now, a Brave Man's Game who can't get near him, and here's a new chasing star, a steeple chasing star, is Galopin Des Champs.
Well, he's going to improve again into next year.
The final fence, and it's Galopin Des Champs who's gone clear, but it's Galopin Des Champs returning to the top of the staying division in the Savills. The Gold Cup winner is back for Paul Townend and Willie Mullins. A sight for sore eyes. Faster, slow on the inside, is inching up as they go to the line. Faster, slow, and lifted it.
Jerry Colomb is trying to stay on again for a 3-way run. Conflated in for a lane, and Jerry Colomb to the line. It's very tight, Jerry Colomb.
It's been punishing soft ground, but what a horse this L'Homme Pressé is. He's made most of the running to win in good style.
Derek Fox for Lucinda Russell, the one for Arthur combination. They're going to win it again with Korak Ramler.
The real whacker in front, Jerry Colomb is closing with every stride. They hit the line, the real whacker and Jerry Colomb.
And it's a winner for Ireland in the Charlie Hall. It's Gentleman's Game under Darragh O'Keefe, who salutes the crowd.
It is Gold Cup Day, the one we've been waiting for, and although the rain has come down, pleased to say we got some bright blue skies, and the Brits were back with a vengeance yesterday. We're going to have to really up our game to get involved here this afternoon. And the big one, the Gold Cup, I think this rain might have actually helped one of the outsiders, and it is a British runner. It's Nasalim. He went through the mud like a duck in water when we saw him in the Welsh Grand National, and I think he might just cause a bit of an upset. This ground has really come into his favour, so let's hope that he might just be one for the Brits in the Gold Cup, which is the big one coming up a little later for us, Niall.
Jess, thank you. Yeah, and I'd like to welcome along Lisa Neal and Chris Dixon, who you were here earlier in the week. We had a chat, and Chris, you've been watching on as well. Start with you. How important it was for Gordon Elliott to get on the score sheet yesterday. Obviously, the horses, Firefox, so many of them have been running well, but to go and get the winner, and the horse that sort of coming here yesterday was one of the main bullets to fire.
Yeah, absolutely, Niall. Look, he was a horse that had big expectation, and in fairness to Gordon and the Rob Corr team, they decided after he ran in, I think it was back in November, to leave him fresh to come to Cheltenham Festival, and look, it really panned out well. The horse had been hitting the crossbar and running well throughout the week, but it's really important to get one on the board, and it took a few days, but thankfully TP was able to do it, and a fantastic ride by Jack Kennedy as well, so great for the team. A few more bullets to fire today as well, so fingers crossed.
A Rob Corr team, like they're not buying hundreds of horses, but they're buying so well.
Yeah, they've got some exceptional firepower, and fair play to them as well. I mean, like this obviously is Tiapu. Flooring Porter on the inside ran a cracker as well for the Gavin Cromwell team. Tiapu had made a mistake at the second last, and I thought, oh, it was anxious moments for 1 second, but you see how well he stayed all the way up the finish line. And it was, look, he came close last year, Niall, but he got his head in front this year. And look, he's a lovely horse, and he's gone from strength to strength each year.
How important is it being fresh?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Look, he shows in his profile before that he's run well fresh, and it really paid off this year as well. So fingers crossed he can come back next year and do the same thing again.
I really enjoyed yesterday. I enjoyed yesterday, not financially. I just enjoyed the day more yesterday.
Yeah, it was a good day's racing. It was just much more competitive all the way around. We had lots of different names getting involved. 7 races, 6 different winning trainers, different winning jockeys. There was plenty going on, but it was much more competitive racing. We ended up with 1 odds-on favourite on the afternoon. It just felt more festival-like, really, than some of the races. The previous day, obviously, El Fabiola got beaten, but you were looking at races in the morning and thinking, where's my angles here? It's not deep enough. It's not competitive enough. And I thought yesterday was a really enjoyable day. I thought Tiapu was fantastic in the stayers. As Lisa mentioned, there was that one moment of concern when he wasn't great 2 out, but he came back onto the bridle so quickly and got himself back up to speed so quickly. And then I thought that was sort of the first impressive part of the race for him. But then over the last to the line and just the way that he was stretching clear was also impressive. And as I said on the channel yesterday in reviewing the race, it is a race that has had horses that have dominated that race in more than 1 year. They've managed to win 2 or 3. It's been probably more race than any other that you've got repeat winners of. And he's only a young horse. He's obviously improved since last year, where I thought he was probably unfortunate not to win last year anyway. And he'll come back next year as the one that they've all got to beat. You won't see him loads, because I do think that being fresh is very important to him. I think when he's had more than 50 days off, he's never been beaten. And so it seemed the right call to keep him fresh. They kept him very fresh, but he'll be a difficult horse to beat in that division.
How is he this morning? Have you been with the horses?
He went home last night. So no, they all arrived home and they're all safe and well. So look, he's an exciting prospect, as Chris said, for next year as well. And yeah, fingers crossed he can come back and retain his crown.
Speaking to Gordon, I think he's on about trying to freshen him up best as he can, go to Punchestown. Yeah,
there's every chance that he'll show up there again. Obviously, it was fantastic that the rain came for him as well yesterday. So he got his ideal conditions, and it worked out in his favour, and it really played to his strengths as well, because he's just so much stamina. Yeah. But as Chris alluded to, he is a young horse, and fingers crossed, obviously he can maybe go to Punchestown and show that he's capable of that as well.
Great day for Harry Skelton and Dan Skelton jockeyship. I must admit, I could watch Derek O'Connor's ride in the last all day long. It might be the horse who's a horse that was lobbed in, but a lot went wrong from early in the race. As good an amateur ride since Tiger Roll won the National Chase under a certain Lisa O'Neill.
It was phenomenal, I have to say. Halfway round, to be honest, Niall, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be some ride if he's going to get this horse up. But Derek O'Connor, he just oozed confidence in him. He got the horse jumping, he got him into a rhythm. It took a while, but he really bided his time. He was in no panic whatsoever. And
so if he had a panic there, I think he would have been on the floor, maybe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Whether he got a fright early.
He wasn't jumping like he can do. And look, there's no man that's in more demand in these amateur races than Derek O'Connor. The experience that he has, and he just showed why he's in so much demand yesterday. He's had 2 rides so far this year at Cheltenham Festival, 2 winners. Can he make it 3?
Well, Chris thinks he can in the Fox Hunters, more about that in due course. But he's just and the way he gets his horses jumping. You know, early in the race, you'll check him in jumping the last thing. Well, that's lobbed in JP McManus, stone up a sleeve. But it's not the case early in the race. I think, professional wise or amateur wise, Derek O'Connor, a horse like that, he'd be way up in your shortlist, wouldn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Look, the rain came down hard yesterday before the start of the Kim Muir, and he's a horse that maybe doesn't have as much experience as some of the other horses did as well. And in a big big field like that, plenty can go wrong, but there's no better man to have in your back than Derek O'Connor. I remember going around beside him in a hunter's chase or a handicap chase in Fairyhouse one year, a few years ago actually, and we were both making the run and beside each other, and I have to say I think I got a lesson going around. He's just a phenomenal rider. He's fantastic to watch. You'd learn so much from him as well, and I think anyone who's aspiring to be a good amateur or a good jockey in the future, I have to say just watch Derek O'Connor.
Absolutely. We're going to look at the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup in detail shortly. But the race, all the chatter over the winter and the preview circuit, etc., you're thinking Friday at Cheltenham, the ground can dry out, whatever. It's 9 mils overnight. I've been out in the track already. It is, they're calling the hurdle course heavy, mixture of soft heavy on the chase course. It's going to be attritional, but you are you changing your mind with yours? Like your Nassalams of this world, Corey Gramders, them horses that really going to stay?
I think a horse, if I was looking for a big price one, then Nassalam would be the one that you kind of look at and think, what he did in the Welsh National was obviously impressive in very deep ground. This is a very different sort of test, but I think if you go back through Gold Cups, it is a race that really tests stamina, but when it's on this kind of ground, and you do get horses more so hitting the frame that are just very, very strong stayers, and they seemingly outrun their ability on the day, but he's on a rating sense, he's not that far behind some of them, and I think he will be better suited by this. So if I was looking for one at a big price, then he would probably be one that I think can outrun his odds. I think Jerry Colombe will be suited by a proper test. I think he's probably going to relish it. I don't think it'll be a massive inconvenience to Galopin Des Champs. I don't really think it'll help fast or slow. I'd be a bit concerned about him. Or definitely not Brave Man's Game. And for all that Corot Rambler stays, I'm not sure that he wants the ground quite as testing as this, so that would kind of put me off him. L'Empresse probably comes into the argument, left-handed, bad ground. Obviously he's had issues in more recent times, but they've got him back on track. He beat Protector out over 2 3/4 miles. And after what he did yesterday, you'd say Protector out, really, we know what a strong stayer L'Empresse is. Over 2 3/4 miles at Lingfield, it would have been a more suitable test for Protectorat than it was L'Empresse, and he managed to beat him, admittedly in receipt of weight, but he'd be another one that you'd be giving a bit of a chance to.
Jerry Colombe, quickly, when he ran last time out, Firefox disappointed, was it Nice a week after? Gordon had a slight blip that 10 days. How has he been at home? He's been in really good form, Niall, but I have to agree with you. I was a little bit disappointed with Jerry Colombe in Leopardstown the last day we did see him, and if we'll go back and have a look at it later on throughout the morning, but he was off the bridle before 3 out, and it's a long way from home, and he didn't hit the line well as well. I think we'll see a better Jerry Colombe today. He's settled into, since he travelled over, he's settled into the routine here really well. Is he a laid-back character? He's very laid-back, very relaxed, very straightforward and uncomplicated, and he looks phenomenal as well. Look, he comes here fresh and well, and I hope he's every chance. He'll really love the test of stamina, and I think he'll enjoy the ground. We always compare horses, Don Cossack and him. Any sort of resemblance? Yeah, there is. There definitely is. Physically and looks-wise, there certainly is, and I hope talent-wise there is too. Okay, that's a quick look at the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup, the feature of the 4 days. As we're going to head back to the studio and say a very good morning to Angus McNay. Hi, Angus.
Hello, guys. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Racing TV studio. Final day of this year's Cheltenham Festival. I've got plenty for you from the studio today. I'll look back at the Ryanair Chase a little bit later on. We'll utilise the Race IQ data, and we'll also utilise it to look back at Galopin Des Champs' win in the Cheltenham Gold Cup last year. And it throws up some quite interesting information. That all to come, but we're very much looking forward to bringing you all of the action today at Cheltenham, as we have done for the past 20 years here on Racing TV and on Racing UK as well. We celebrate that by giving you comprehensive coverage throughout the rest of the day. And here is the card that we will enjoy throughout the afternoon. The hurdle course described now as heavy, the chase course soft, heavy in places. We start with the JCB Triumph Hurdle, no Sergino of course, Grade 1 over 2 miles and 179 yards. We've got the County Hurdle then at 2:10 over the same trip, and then the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, Grade 1 over just shy of 3 miles for those novices at 2:50. The Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup, the big one of the meeting, at 3:33 1/4 miles in that heavy ground. Then we've got the Hunter Chase over 3 1/4 miles, same trip as the Gold Cup of course. And then we've got the Mayor's Chase at 4:50. It's a Grade 2 and it's over 2.5 miles. The Martin Pipe Conditional jockeys will bring the curtain down on this year's Cheltenham Festival. That's off at 5:30. What about those that don't go today? There's quite a few of them. 1:38 Peking Opera. Gary Moore's taken that one out. 11 Sergino, we knew about him the other day. 2:10 4 Encanto Bruno. 11 Oaken Risk. 12 Gin Coco. 17 Paramount and 23 Rare Middleton. 2:51 Butcher Hollow and 12 Shanna Bob. That's another Henderson horse out. Hewick, unfortunately, because of the ground, clearly made the right decision with what happened as far as the rain's concerned overnight. He's out of the Gold Cup at 3:30. He's number 7. 4:50 number 4 Brides Hill and 5:30 number 20. Thanks for the help. Those are all your details then for the action today at Cheltenham. There's been some rain overnight, so let's go now and join Jess and get a handle on conditions. She is with John Pullen.
The sun did come out for a little bit, but it's gone a bit overcast again. And John Pullen, I'm sure you're just grateful that the rain has stopped for now, that we had plenty overnight. Can you tell us about how much landed on the track and the going at this time?
Yeah, so obviously those that were around yesterday saw that we started to get some rain late on yesterday during racing, and that did continue on and off through the night. We actually ended up with 9 millimetres through racing and overnight, so significant impact. And again, more than was forecast. So we've updated this morning to heavy on the hurdles course and soft heavy in places on the chase course. You know, it'll be pretty testing today. You know, that's a significant amount of rain we've had. We've talked about it all week, you know, through the build-up, and you know, we've had plenty during the week as well. Slight difference with the chase course is that we've been able to save ground, and it's something that we do throughout the season. We're a bit more restricted in this home straight, but certainly down the back straight we've got a good 6 yards of fresh ground, so that gives a really fresh strip. Not seen a hoof print since last May.
Yeah.
So that will, you know, that's the reason we're able to sort of leave it as soft down there. It will ride a little bit better there.
We can see the rail movements just happening, the ground staff putting so much work into this. Every sort of little helps, but you can't do too much more than what you're doing.
Yeah, you know, a huge shout out to the grounds team. It's been an incredible effort all week. You know, challenging build-up as we keep alluding to, but even this week, the amount of rail movement and hurdle movement that we've done, and you know, huge credit to them. We've done it again overnight. We've moved the back straight hurdles, the inside 2 panels to the outside, just to push them out a little wider and try and give them some fresher ground to race on the hurdle course. But that's all down to the effort of the team. You know, they're supported by other members of ground staff from around the group, but it's been a fantastic effort, and all credit to them for where they've got us.
Obviously the weather's been very unpredictable. It's been a lot more than you'd expected. Today, as we see the weather sort of moving and sweeping around in a strange sense, what do you think might be happening over the course of this afternoon weather-wise?
Yeah, so it's as you can tell, blustery day, and you know, we might just have an odd shower or two blow through. Some forecasts suggesting maybe a heavier one around 11 o'clock, but that's not in all forecasts. I think we might just see, you know, brighter spells as we've seen earlier this morning, with a few showers.
And yesterday on the new course, we saw some excellent racing, of course, but I thought the times were good and the jockeys went and managed the ground well. You must have been pleased with that.
Yes, definitely, and I think that was, you know, as a result of, you know, we moved to the new course yesterday, obviously, and I think, you know, that fresh ground just rode a little bit better. You know, Tuesday we'd had the rain just prior to racing. Wednesday we'd been dry, so it was a little bit tackier. But moving on to the new yesterday, it rode a little bit better, and the jockeys rode it very well, and hopefully that continues today. We're
obviously building up to the big one, and all your team, and you've got 100 years of the Gold Cup on your jacket. What does this day mean for Cheltenham and mean in its history? Because it's I imagine a wonderful milestone for you to be a part of.
It is, you know, a huge privilege for myself and the rest of the team. You know, we've had one eye on this week, as we always do, for a long time throughout the season. But it's a special one, and you know, hopefully the race will live up to its billing.
Yeah, and as a week as a whole, obviously comes with its challenges. You obviously got to think of your next meeting as well, not just the festival itself. How would you reflect on it and reflect on what you and your team have achieved?
Yeah, no, I think it's been a great week. We've seen some great racing, and you know, Willie's 100 is a special moment. So I think, you know, so far that's certainly been the highlight, and just a privilege to be part of it.
And I wonder what happened to you at the end of the tonight. Feet up, will you be able to enjoy it? Will you be able to decompress for a little bit after what's been a fabulous 4 days?
Yes, yeah, no, it'll take a while to come down, I think, after this week, but no, very much looking forward to some sleep.
Yeah, well, John, we have to thank you for all your time, your effort, being with us each morning. Your ground team have been absolute heroes, and let's hope we have some excellent racing, because you guys deserve it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Brilliant.
John Pullen talking to Jess Stafford about conditions at Cheltenham today. They are going to be pretty attritional, you would have thought, for what is the 100th anniversary of the Cheltenham Gold Cup. So we're going to take you through the runners and riders for the Gold Cup and then have a look at the race in some detail. Thereafter, Brave Man's Game, the 20-to-1 shot at the moment is number 1. Corrick Rambley, he's sure to be popular today. You'd have thought he's 18-to-1 and fast or slow. Conditions might have gone a bit against him. He's got plenty of speed. He's 15-to-2. Favourite Galopin Short is a shade of odds on now. The winner last year, of course, 10-to-11 on the back of his Irish Gold Cup success. Gentleman's Game at 20-to-1. That's number 5. And number 6, Jerry Colombe at 7-to-1. For Gordon Elliott. Hewitt number 7 is an absentee because of the ground. 8 Jungle Boogie is a 33-to-1 shot. And 9 Long Press at 10-to-1, going left-handed on this ground, should suit him. Monkfish number 10, Patrick Mullins on board, 25-to-1. Nassalam will like conditions at 25s as well. And number 12, the Real Whacker, 40-to-1. So those are the contenders for this year's Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. Let's hear from some of their connections now, starting with Willie Mullins, who's talking to Don McLean.
Galopin Des Champs, when he won the Savills Chase after being beaten in the Punchestown Gold Cup and the John Durkin Chase on his first run this season, did you feel he had to do something like that to get back on track, or were you happy enough with it?
Oh yeah, I mean I ran him at Christmas and I didn't expect him to do what he did, but we had to change something. So chatting to Paul, he wanted to ride him different tactics, and I said, let's do it. I had sort of curtailed Paul before that because the horse was too keen. He had to learn, he had to mature and learn how to race better. He was too keen as a novice. You get away with that sort of stuff as a novice, you don't get away with it. You know, the only one I ever saw getting away with that was Dawn Run, and she was just another being. But he's learned, and Paul has, I think Paul got so much confidence in him winning the Gold Cup last year. You know, he goes there, he's very well at the moment. If he can reproduce the same run this year, you know, it's same run could be good enough.
And I know he was well back in the field last year in the race. Maybe that's the way the start of the race panned out. But this year, you think you're happy to just allow him jump and run?
I asked Paul to ride him like that last year. Probably wasn't his favourite job all year. And maybe he was a little bit out of position, but that happens. And but I could see Paul's body language that he wasn't going to panic, and Paul doesn't panic. That's what I like about Paul. He was sticking to his plan, and the race unfolded lovely. And I was more worried about him getting involved in the race too soon, but I wouldn't have that worry this year.
Yeah,
because the horse has matured so much, and you know, I think he's stronger. He's just a more mature horse this year.
We got a chance. He was second in it last year. He's a good horse. He's coming right back to his best now at the right time. I don't think that we've had him at his best in his 3 runs this season for different reasons, really. But last year's winner, Galopin Des Champs, is going to be hard to beat on the form book. You know, we beat us fair and square last year, and I don't know what we can do to beat him this year. He seems awesome. His 2 wins at Leopardstown have been incredible. So I think there's 3 or 4 horses underneath him that are probably on a par with each other.
Yeah.
Have got it all to do to beat the favourite.
With his season so far, I know he had the 3 runs at the end of last year going into the beginning of 2024. I know he didn't win, or hasn't won yet, but it's not like they've been bad runs, any of them.
No, not at all. He ran second in the Charlie Hall on heavy ground, and he wasn't really fully wound up that day. Then I suppose the Betfair Chase came quick enough after that, and then that was another hard race before the King George. And he ran well in the King George. He's been running well in all 3 races, but I don't think he's been quite at his best. Hence, we've kept him fresh. We didn't want to run him, and I'd say he's right back there again. Sun started to shine. He looks great in his coat. He jumped very well. Harry was particularly impressed, and he scored him last week and said to me he feels right back to his best.
Yeah.
Felt amazing. Ran away with him on the gallops, and I think he's in good shape.
He jumps great and he has a bit of class, so there's no downside to him really, you know, except finding one too good for him maybe. He's a good traveller and he jumps really well, so in a proper run Gold Cup he should be fairly comfortable from start, from the beginning, and able to hold his position wherever he wants to be through his jumping and pace. So whatever happens from the back of the second last, as you know in Gold Cups, even from the back of the last, that race changes.
He's in good nick, obviously. He's a good bit of improvement to do to beat Gallop and the champion in his Leopardstown run, but I think he's in good nick. I'm looking forward to Cheltenham. He has to improve, but we're looking forward to a big run. Bit of drier ground. I think we'll see a different horse. Yeah, really looking forward to the race.
You think the dry ground will suit him, do you?
I do, yeah. You know, we were all putting him down for a mud lark, but the way he travelled and jumped in the entry last year on better ground, I think a bit of drier ground will really suit him.
And the step up and trip as well. It's a longer trip at Cheltenham. Will that be a problem?
Definitely, I think it'll really suit him.
Yeah. And because he's a wee bit of a forgotten horse of the Gold Cup, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah. Sometimes that's a good thing. But obviously, look, the race is hotting up. Obviously, Willie's horse has been awesome this year, and we all have to go to beat him. Look, it's a race horse, and you never know.
I definitely think he can get closer to Gallop in the Champs than he did in Leopardstown. So obviously, he's going to be very hard to beat, but hopefully, you never know really. So fingers crossed.
Has he been well since we saw him last?
Yeah, he's in good form. I rode him, I sat in him myself the other day, so yeah, he's in good order. So hopefully he'll be thereabouts anyway. Hopefully.
I'm very happy with him. Obviously, you know what he's done. You know, he won at Lingfield, and then he was second the other day at Ascot. And I'm very pleased with him. He seems to have taken the races well, which is really important. And yeah, no, I think coming back off a year off, I have to be very happy with him. We've only obviously got a second half of the season anyway, and yes, the Gold Cup is the holy grail, but you know it takes a super horse to win that, and you know I hope we'll go there with a chance, but you know we don't want that to be the be all and end all.
Do you think that knowing how well he's been around Cheltenham L'Impresse, does that give you a bit confidence in just knowing that he sort of feels like he can get into quite a good rhythm there, and he's done it before, he's unbeaten at Cheltenham for a reason?
Well, hopefully, you know, but this will obviously be far more of a test than any of those, you know, because this is, as you said, this is the pinnacle race. But, you know, we'll go there and we'll have our chance, and hopefully he'll run well.
Connections of some of the leading fancies in this year's Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. And this is how they bet at the moment. He's a shade of odds on Galopin Des Champs. He's a 10 to 11 shot at the moment. Jerry Colombe's in there at 7 to 1. And much bigger prices the rest here. Brave Man's Game looks big, doesn't it? Around about 20s plus there. But Galopin, he's gone odds on. He's 10 to 11. And boy, was he good when he won this race last year. Seeing off Brave Man's Game, he kind of warmed to the task, didn't he, throughout the contest, and he got better and better in terms of his jumping, and he was very strong in terms of staying the full 3 1/4 miles in the end. Jumped the last well, and galloped on resolutely all the way to the line, and he's been good this season as well. 2 out of 3 this season. His only defeat coming over an inadequate trip, but he'll sure to be primed and ready to go to try and land back-to-back Cheltenham Gold Cups this afternoon. Let's go back to the track and get the thoughts of the guys on course.
Yeah, thanks, Angus. We've got no Hewick, obviously, with the rain that has fallen over the last 4 days. There's no surprise there. And no Shishkin, for obvious reasons, with Nick Anderson's horses under a bit of a cloud. But that aside, I think it's a good renewal.
Yeah, it is. You've got the reigning champion, and you've got horses in there that have beaten him in the past. You've got up-and-comers, something a little bit different, I suppose. So, yeah, I think it's a good renewal. It's an interesting one. I think the conditions and the way that they have become so testing could well change the dynamics of the race a little bit. It's obviously going to make it more of a test of stamina, and I suppose attritional stamina kind of is thrown into the mix more so than in your average Gold Cup, which is a race for strong stayers anyway. You can sometimes forget that even on decent ground. But I suppose your real classy horses might be more inconvenienced by the way things are, and some of the slightly slower ones, but will keep on working away, come into it a little bit more. And I think it does make it perhaps less of a foregone conclusion than it might have looked coming into the week.
Okay, let's have a look at last year's race for Galopin Des Champs, Power Clear. He's looking to do what Albin Food had done. For me, I think he's a better horse than Albin Food. Do you agree?
Oh, I think he's a little bit more class, but it's to show that he can win 2 Gold Cups as well, and which is a really hard thing to do. I obviously think when this was given a seriously confident ride last year by Paul Tennant when he was dropped in, and he made quite a few mistakes early on. Actually, it took him a while to warm to his jumping. Brave Man's Game was probably always up in the van and a lot closer to the pace as well, but
he sort of got hampered at the start and got himself a long way back.
Yeah, he was. He had a lot of ground to make up as well, but it's the manner and the nature in which he actually won is so impressive, Niall. You can see Paul Townend looming up sides, and the body language, you can tell how much he's got so much belief and so much faith in this horse. And when he looms upside Brave Man's Game to come down to the last, I think Paul's just squeezing away, and I think he actually knows what he has underneath him. When he lands over the back of the last, Brave Man's Game tries as hard as he can to battle all the way up the home straight, but Galopin Des Champs just puts distance between himself and his rival Brave Man's Game, who reopposes again today. And how he hit the line is very impressive. It was a scintillating performance, but what we've learned since this race is the fact that he has been beaten and he can be beatable, and he's got that horse Faster Slow that has turned him over twice before, reopposing again today. So the question is, can Faster Slow do that yet again? I'm not so sure though.
Dealing with that race there, Brave Man's Game, he's a classy horse. Dismiss Paul Nicholls at your peril. But what we've seen this season, it hasn't been as good. And with the conditions as attritional as they are, surely must be a big negative.
I think so. I'd be struggling to be particularly positive about Brave Man's Game. There's no obvious reason why he would reverse last year's form, but even in terms of running well and managing to hit the frame again, I think in the heart of hearts, they'll be disappointed that the ground has gone the way that it has, that it's going to have made it more of a test of stamina than probably he ideally wants, and just conditions that he doesn't really want. But yeah, hard enough to make an argument for him. Clearly, Galopin Des Champs is going to be hard to beat. As Lisa mentioned there, he has been beaten a couple of times, so that invincibility is almost gone. But when you look at the 2 days that he was beaten by Fast or Slow, there were probably races where speed was at more of a premium. They didn't go much of a gallop the first time, and then the next time it was over a shorter trip. So I think that probably was the reason for those defeats. And you look at today's conditions, I find it hard to see Fast or Slow getting one over on Galopin again, and ultimately he's going to be very hard to beat.
Let's have a look at him this season, because the Savills at Christmas, he was really good in the Savills.
It was a really good performance, Niall, I have to say. Obviously, the pace was set out by Conflated, and Galopin Des Champs was always a lot closer to the pace than what we've seen of him in the Gold Cup last year. This was just a 2 out, and you can see Jerry Colum had been under the pump from a long way out with Jack Kennedy on board, and Galopin Des Champs was just travelling so well with Paul Townend on board as they turned into the home straight. I was disappointed because Jerry Colum was under pressure from such a long way out. Now, he's a horse that does lack that crucial tactical speed at times.
How much do you read in the way Paul went wide the whole way?
Yeah, people have said that maybe there was a benefit in going wide. The likes of Jerry Colum had stuck to the inside the whole way, and sometimes the likes of the outside in Leopardstown, maybe the ground can be a little bit drier as well. But obviously, look, Galopin Des Champs was unbelievable this day, and the distance he put between himself and Jerry Colum. I was disappointed with Jerry Colum's finishing effort this day, as I mentioned earlier, but he was just phenomenal, Galopin Des Champs. And his jumping, he was maybe a little bit sticky early on, but he was just absolutely exceptional from the time they passed the stands with a circuit to go. He was just electric over his fences, Niall. This was him back at Leopardstown, the Dublin Racing Festival. it was actually interesting. He had to make all his own running as well, which is something we hadn't seen him do since he won his beginner's chase. But Paul Townend set good fractions on front, and he jumped quite well. Faster, slow, obviously reopposed this day. And in fairness, he laid down a big challenge coming to the last. And you'll just see Galopin Des Champs, he actually, when the camera angle changes, you can see him actually maybe slightly jink and have a look maybe at the outside wing slightly. Paul Townend corrects him very quickly, and he just puts the race to bed. We lose Conflated and Jack Kennedy in the back, but Faster, Slow tries his damnedest to lay down a challenge, but he's just not good enough on the day, and Galopin Des Champs shows what he can do.
In a race, as you mentioned, about making a run, he doesn't look like that's his best way of riding him, so it's just hard to, he's priced up, he's 10 to 11, but yeah, you sort of, you're struggling to see why that last couple of races we've looked at, the last three, why they're going to turn it.
And you look at him against Fast or Slow, then what's the most impressive bit? It's the end of the race.
Yeah, and powering.
He does hit the line so well that you just think that he's kind of made for this race, really, and he's the class act in the field. So it is very hard to get against him. I think from a betting point of view, you're kind of looking for your each-way angle for... Look, we saw what happened with El Fabiolo. It's rarely as simple as it sounds. And from an each-way punter's point of view, you've 7-1 the second favourite, so there are angles in. I think that second favourite in Jerry Colombe is a horse that he's got a good bit of improving to do to get there, but he's only been beaten a couple of times himself, and I don't know, I would read a bit into maybe where he was on the track.
Right.
Just because ultimately I don't think, for whatever reason, I don't think that is his running, being beaten as far as that by Galopin Des Champs. It could have been the inside, it could have been, as you mentioned, that maybe Gordon's horses were a little bit quieter at that specific point. It could have been a combination of the two, but I think he's better than that, and I think he'll be closer to him today. Do I think he'll beat him? Probably not, but I do think that he can get competitive.
Let's
I
have a
think
look
this
at him
track will
at
suit him better as well than Leopardstown.
Because Down Royal, he'd done well to win.
He did.
Was it Conflated?
It was Conflated who was jumping to his left the whole way, which impeded Jerry Colombe. This was Jerry Colombe's first start in open company as well, stepping out a novice company, and I thought it was a really good performance. It was questionable a lot of the way down the home straight whether he was actually going to get there on the line, but he did where it really mattered. Envoy Allen,
all Grade 1 winners, yes, maybe past their very best, but when you went to Down Royal on the 11th of November, you thought he was a proper Gold Cup horse, is that right?
Yes, absolutely, and I suppose this was his first start, as I said, in open company, his first start of the season as well, as some of these had already had a start also, but you can see he was under pressure from a long way out, and Envoy Allen came to the lead at this stage, and you would question whether Jerry Colombe's actually going to get there, but he does have loads of stamina in reserve, and when Jack Kennedy asks him a question, he certainly answers, and the further he goes, the better he goes. And I think the fact of the trip of the Gold Cup, I just think it's really going to suit him.
It's quite strange for a Gold Cup that you've got Jerry Colombe, Jungle Boogie, and Gentleman's Game, who won the Charlie Hall, we haven't seen since. Three horses are still unexposed, horses we don't know all about them yet.
No, exactly, and just that Down Royal run is the one that gives me a bit of confidence that Jerry Colombe can still do better, because ultimately it was his stamina that won him that race, wasn't it? He was in trouble against Conflated and Envoy Allen, but we saw yesterday that despite their advancing numbers, they're no back number. They're still very good horses, but they're just quicker horses than him, and they had him in bother, and yet he still managed to overcome it. And a greater test today is something that can't help but think will suit him. And as I say, I think last time out, it for whatever reason, it wasn't quite his running. So he'd kind of be the horse that I'd be leaning towards most. And then you've got Nassalam in there who, you know, if it carried on raining, it would be fine. It would be fine for him. I mean, he'd be happy to be swimming.
Cool Ground won a new before coming on.
It
does happen.
Yeah, it does. Native River. Yeah. You've got plenty of horses in there that real stamina tests, and they've won that race and proven their stamina, and they've gone on to either win or run well in a Gold Cup. So I do think he is one, but as you said, there are some unexposed ones in there. At the end of the day, they're all aiming for a standard which not that many horses get to with Galopin Des Champs, so you can see why he is where he is.
Gentleman's Game has come on to you. Mouse Morris, back in the day, Trapper John, Cowavella Howe, he knows how to train a good horse. Again, we've only seen him since the Charlie Hall Chase when he was beating Brave Man's Game. And I suppose on the day you're thinking really positive about it. Brave Man's Game doesn't seem the same horse so far this season. What have you made of him?
Yeah, I thought he's been very good. I was actually at Gorham Park when he won, and he was just behind Easy Game. He's a horse that doesn't have that much experience over fences compared to some of his rivals, which is a little bit concerning for me. But I was impressed with what he done in Charlie Hall Chase. Maybe you can crab that Brave Man's Game had a mistake at the last, which didn't help his cause by any means. But look, it'd be phenomenal for Mouse Morris, Darrow, Keefe on board, the Rob Court team taking on their own horse, Jerry Colum, as well. I think he's a horse that'll stay really well. But as you said, we don't know enough about him, so he's got to prove that he's up to this standard today.
It's hard to get a gauge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the other thing is that when he beat Brave Man's Game, he'd had a run, hadn't he? So he probably had a bit of a fitness edge. If that was the Gold Cup winning form line, I'd be surprised.
Right. You would be surprised?
I would, yeah.
Bred by Nick Luck's late mother. So
really?
You can imagine Nick, if that wins. You'll have to present. He'll be in the winner's enclosure. Let's rattle down a few more. Corrick Rambler. Excellent Cheltenham Festival record.
Yep.
Grand National horse. And again, I mentioned the three that lightly raced that we don't know lots about. We still don't know how good he is, because when he hits the front, he sort of head up, does just as much as he wants to.
Yeah, he does, and we know that he stays. I'm not sure that he wants the ground like this, really. I think he's probably a better horse on better ground, and that, I suppose, would be more of a worry for me than anything else. He ticks a lot of boxes, but yeah, I'd be unconvinced about him on the ground as testing exists. I know he's got some testing ground form, but yeah, it wouldn't be up my list.
He won the Ultimate last year for 146, beaten fast or slow, and year in, year out, we keep coming back to Cheltenham Festival form.
Yeah, we do indeed, and he's a horse that I do agree with Chris. I'm not sure if he'd want the ground to stop. What he'll want is an end-to-end gallop. I actually seen him out in the gallops the other day. Derek Fox was on him, and he looked very well, I have to say, and he looked like he was in good form as well. So look, it'd be fantastic for Connections. He's been an unbelievable servant for them, but yeah, I'm not sure if he's going. Look, he could run really well. He could run obviously nearly a career best and finish in the placings, but I don't know if he has that class.
You can make the argument, can't you, in that on the form book, in that Fast or Slow is the horse that's beaten the favourite, and he's beaten Fast or Slow. He was getting weight from Fast or Slow. Was he getting £4 or something when he beat him? So just on that, you'd say that Fast or Slow should beat him, but then so do the prices.
I think it's a long time since we've seen a 10-year-old win a Gold Cup as well.
Will it be well run?
It will be reasonably well run. You would think that Jungle Boogie, who often makes the running, probably won't be too far away. L'Empresse will probably be up there, won't he?
Will the real Wacker go forward?
Yeah, he's got. You would have thought he's got some visors on him as well.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed if he wasn't going forward. So, and then I think probably Galopin de Champs will just sit in behind, so that he'll be tracking the pace.
Yeah.
Would a slow pace help Brave Man's Game?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because the stamina is the big worry about.
Yeah.
Willie Mullins, 100 up, 100 Cheltenham Festival winners. If Monkfish wins, after so long since jumping a fence in public, after the Galmoy, which visually I didn't think was fantastic, but we know that he's a horse who's really caught the imagination of a lot of people. Be some training performance.
It'd be unbelievable. It really would be unbelievable. He's a horse, obviously, it hasn't been plain sailing for him by any means, but back in the day he was touted as a Gold Cup horse.
Here he is.
So here he is. He has finally showed up. It'll be really interesting to see how he runs, and he's Patrick Mullins on his back as well, and what a phenomenal achievement that would be. But yeah, he has to prove that he's capable of it now at the age of 10.
Yeah, hard to see.
Yeah.
He's a 10-year-old as well.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought that one. But I was just having a look down the list of winners, and I can't find a 10-year-old.
Okay, sum it up. Favourite, very hard to beat. Jerry Colum each way. Is that listening to you?
Yep, that's about the nuts and bolts of it. Yeah, I'll go for the tri-cash. Jerry Colum, so Galopin, Jerry Colum, and Naslan.
Oh, you just robbed my life.
You agree?
I was going to agree, I have to say. I think Galopin de Champs is going to be hard to beat. Fast or Slow, I'm concerned about the ground, so I'm going to say Jerry Colum for second, and Nassalam I think might grind it out for third.
All in on the tri-cast.
Yeah.
There you go. We haven't given you the winner of the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. Give you the tri-cast. Let's head back out and rejoin Jess.
The Centenary restaurant in all its glory, and as we would expect, we can see all the winners in the Roll of Honour. And Neil Phillips, we're going to go through them. You know them all off by heart, don't you, Neil?
I do. I mean, this is going to be the longest piece of the Cheltenham Festival. Well, I talk about every winner, Jess, but it's an absolutely fantastic feature. And I'm going to say, you were saying to me before, I can name these all, you know.
Well, go on. Let's walk and talk with a glass of fizz.
Yeah, we'll do that. But also, I do want to talk about one particular winner. It was Cool Dawn, because every time I see Andrew Thornton here at the course, and I've seen him every day, obviously, he always tells me about when he's been driving into the course each time, looking back to that success on Cool Dawn. He'd phoned John Franken beforehand about the tactics, and John has said, I can't do a John Franken accent actually, but John has said, look, you need to go at the fourth last. That's when you need to get in the lead. And he said, that's what I did. And I always remember what John said every time I come here. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
And a 10-year-old to win the Gold Cup. That was some feat, but this is more of a feat, I think. And wonderful to be here in the Centenary restaurant with the head chef himself. Thank you for inviting us in, because what have you got on display? This is not just about the Centenary Roll of Honour, it's also about how you brought that to life with the food.
Hi Jess, nice to see you. Yeah, this is our Centenary restaurant, so we're themed it around 100 years as far as we can. We had to go back through our old recipe books. I trained in the 80s, and you know, we had to go back through. It was quite interesting to do that, actually. But to come up with 100 years of food was quite difficult in many ways. But I think we've done very well. We've got chicken cordon bleu, which is popular in the 60s. Then we've got beef Wellington, a resurgence in the 80s, but it's a classic dish anyway. And then we've got some really nice old English style mini pot desserts. Yeah, so we've got crumble, we've got banoffee pie. You know, there's a whole range of stuff here. Yeah, the starters is a prawn cocktail and a bisque, which is 70s sort of style. Yeah, so it's great.
I'm going to go for it.
Okay, you go in, Jess, because so Laurie Jeffers, you know, head chef, you know, and just in terms of, you know, the preparation here, and it's interesting actually within the menus themselves as well. You can actually have a canter through the menu, can't you, in terms of the history of food and what you've actually done there. So all the guests there, so like bring in the prawn and crayfish cocktail, for example.
That's right. Yeah, you can read up on you know, how we've researched it and everything all in the menu. Yeah, which is great actually, and we've done it in a style, so it's a bowl food style, so it's not a sit-down three-course meal. It's more of a grazing thing. So you come in, you'll get some lovely pastries and that, which is from our. We've researched a local bakery, St George's Park Bakery. It is in Cheltenham, and he makes cruffins. Have you come across cruffins before?
They look magnificent. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, it was an American invention. It's a croissant crossed with a muffin, basically. But to complement that, you've got some of these really nice Portuguese tarts, pasadelnadas, So, yeah, we serve them warm. So that's your breakfast offer. Then you would have a bisque and a prawn cocktail for a starter, followed by this. And then finally you're going to finish on your sharing desserts.
And this beef is absolutely delicious. How does your team go about making, I can only imagine, thousands of these day on day? Tell us a little bit about that process and how particular you've got to get, because getting the beef that red and that lovely texture is quite something.
Well, it's just experience, to be honest with you. I've got a fantastic team of chefs across the whole site. And, you know, we've been doing this for a very long time, as you well know, Neil.
How many Cheltenham festivals have you done now, Laurie?
This is my 26th festival.
Yeah, there we go. Look at all that. Well, Jess is going in. Great to see. And also, at this point, just in terms of Jess's question as well, scale-wise, you know, you've got there are 4,000 people working in hospitality. You've got 300 chefs on course.
At least, yeah.
At least?
Yeah.
And lots of young chefs too.
We've got lots of students, actually. We've got some good apprentices. Got strong links with the college in Cheltenham, which is where I trained anyway. But yeah, we're busy people.
So Cheltenham's always been a special place to you anyway, so you trained here. Has it always been somewhere from afar that you thought, gosh, I'd love to get involved in that? How did it come about for you?
Well, when I was at college in Cheltenham, we came here as work experience. Then I went travelling, and then I came back here in 1999, and that was my first full festival as a chef, and then continued since then.
And you must have seen the festival change. Obviously, we've got to the centenary year for the Gold Cup, but the scale on which it's grown and the popularity of it, is that tested you and tested your ability to sort of, you know, widen what you love to do all the time?
Tested, and excited, yeah. I mean, I really do enjoy it. I look forward to this every year, I must admit. You know, I mean, we support Aintree as well, and we support Epsom, so other Jockey Club racecourses throughout the year. But I just love Cheltenham. You know, it's a great, it's a great event, and it's great.
Brilliant. And it's interesting as well, just the planning side as well, because you have to go through this concept. You've got the 480 restaurant on course as well, which is all about local suppliers too. And it's,
that's right.
Making the links with all the local suppliers, which is really great.
Well, myself and Warren, who's the executive chef, my boss, we go out on a road trip once a year around the county, because Gloucestershire's a fantastic place for food, and we go and try cheeses, and go to the dairies, and we go to the meat producers and all that stuff, and you know, and then we bring that back and put it into our menus.
And tell me, I'm looking at these. This has got me. You must have a favourite. And if I'm going to pick one, I can't have all of them. If I'm going to pick one, which one's the favourite?
For me, it'd be the banoffee pie. This one here, but
This one there.
Yeah, come on, you go. Let's go in there.
I'm going to try and do this very.
I've got to say, by the way, the crew.
Am I the only one that's eating?
No, I'm going to eat as well now. I'll tell you. But the crew will be. I tell you what, they'll be straight in after this one, because it's just the presentation. That's the other thing for me. Look at the presentation here in terms of the brunch experience and the main experience itself.
Well, we've had great feedback on this all week, you know. So even though it's centenary, obviously this year, this style we would love to do again.
I think it's great, so. And actually position-wise as well, because you're south of the parade ring, you're near trackside as well, so guests can get out and watch the racing easily here and come back in and just keep grazing, can't they, as well? Just, I might have to start doing some tasting here. I've got to go for something.
In terms of numbers that you had today, obviously this must be the most popular Gold Cup day. It's the one that people want to get involved with. How many people are you expecting to serve this afternoon?
But ask me how many cups of tea I'm expecting to do. That's probably a bigger number,
More than the wine, the lovely wine and fizz offerings that we have.
Possibly, possibly,
Really? Yeah. No, it's about. So actually, we've got here. It's interesting. I've just chosen a Spanish white here.
Okay. This one?
Yes, this one here, Bodegas Cuidado, and it's a really easy drinking.
I'm going to try this as well.
Yeah, your dress is going to go in.
I'll try for
I've got to, and also that is absolutely fantastic. Let's say when you're having the prawn and crayfish cocktail, which is great, nice and dry, really fresh, really fruity. I'm going to go back in actually.
Lovely and dry, beautifully done. And so, in terms of how you reflect on this festival, you know, the amount of work and time that you get into the food. What are your biggest takeaways from this week, and how do you think you're going to replicate it going forward next year? What's your challenge going to be next year?
I think we'd like to do more of this sort of food, actually, more of this sort of offer. We've taken this style into our retail as well, which is the feed room.
Okay.
And that's a very much a street offer, a grazing. But I think for myself and Warren, it's very much about using the local food that we've got. The local producers around Gloucestershire and what have you, because that's what we're really excited about, and bringing that back to Cheltenham Racecourse.
Well, you should be very proud of it indeed.
Yeah, we are.
Delicious.
And also, you know, here the first winner of the Cheltenham Gold Cup was Red Splash, 1924, which is a great name. And today, right, who are we going to go for today, Jess?
I feel like we need a food-related winner, and I'm trying to think. Maybe it could be a bit of a monkfish. That'd be nice. Have a monkfish on offer next year. And I think he's got a bit under the radar, hasn't he?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, he's a big prize. I think people have forgotten him. It's heavy going, so it's going to be really testing. Can Gallopin do it again? Let's see. I'm actually going to go for Corrick Rambler, because I do think, I know it's this time of year. It hasn't been his best this season, but he loves this time of year. He'll love the going. He loves Cheltenham. He's going to do it.
Okay, well, we're delighted to be here. Thank you for having us.
Lovely to see you, yeah.
Have you even had the opportunity to have a look at the Gold Cup? You've got a selection?
Not yet, no. I will do later on.
Yeah, bit of monkfish, I think.
I'll try that one. I'll remember that.
Oh, great stuff. Cheers, everybody. Come on, that's great. Thanks, Laurie. That's fab.
Okay.
That's
brilliant.
Fab. Cheers.
Good luck for the final day in the Centenary restaurant.
Well, it's time to have a look back at yesterday. I'm going to have a look at the Ryanair chase through the prism of the Race IQ data. Hopefully it will paint a picture of what actually happened out there, and you'll remember it was a really nice success for Protectorat, who beat Envoy Allen, Conflated, and Capodanno was back in 4th place. This race was strongly run for the first 5 furlongs, and then they really steadied it, and they went 16.5 to 17-second furlongs until 4 out, and then it turned into a bit of a dash from there. So I would describe it as a bit of an OXO race. So they've gone fast, slow, and they've filled up, and then they've gone again. And Protectorat has won that dash for home over the final 4 furlongs. The finishing speed percentage he produced, 106.25. 6.25% quicker in the final 4 furlongs than the rest of the race. Here he is. He's coming to 3 out. We'll focus on his jumping, which was pretty good. Not brilliant, but just efficient enough. He just gained under a length there at the 3rd last. He's going well here. Ruby Walsh has praised Harry Skelton for not kicking at this point, for sitting and waiting until Envoy Allen got upsides in before he decided to go on Protectorat. Stage start to his inside. He was the 2nd best jumper in the race, just behind Protectorat. Here comes Love Envoy looming up. 2nd last, he gained just under a length. Again, nothing spectacular, but he's jumping all right. The sprint is on now. They're going pretty quick at this stage, and this is a big jump. This is good. 2.62 lengths he gained at the last Protectorat, and then he ran on quite strongly through the closing stages to see off Envoy Allen. Look at Conflated getting tired. Capodanno, he wants 3 miles. He's running on really strongly in the closing stages, and Capodanno there, he ran the 2nd fastest final furlong. That was a good effort from him. You can mark Capodanno up. He wants further as well. He probably wants 3 miles. Here are the jumping stats according to Race IQ. You see that they're nothing spectacular. If I tell you that I know the way you're thinking, in the last race, he gained over 16 lengths with his jumping. Just 2.6 lengths gained by Protectorat. And Envoy Allen lost 2.8. So Protectorat was 5.4 lengths better than Envoy Allen over the fences, and equate that with the fact there was only 4 lengths between them at the line, suggests that jumping was really quite important. Conflated didn't jump particularly well. Capodanno just okay. These are not outstanding figures as far as jumping are concerned, but Protectorat got it done, not just with his jumping, but with his speed. He was very quick through those final 4 furlongs, quicker than his rivals through the final 4 furlongs, quite considerably actually, and quite impressive. He recorded, and I'll give you this number, 58.22 for his last 4 furlongs. The runner-up recorded 59.07, and then the next best, 59.25. Capodanno running on quite strongly through those final 4 furlongs. And just one other point about the sectionals was that he was quite quick through the penultimate furlong. The winner, Protectorat, the only horse to dip under 15 seconds at that point. So he was the best jumper in the race, only just. It wasn't a brilliant round of jumping from any horse, but he did gain a few lengths on his rivals, and he was the fastest horse, the drop-in trip, just what the doctor ordered for Protectorat.
Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Timeform.
The Sun's horse racing pull-out, The Favourite, is now in the paper 7 days a week, with top tips, form guides and colours every day. Pick up The Sun today.
Here they come, racing lovers of the UK in the Coral Fat Derby. Ladies' Day ladies leading the Tracky Brigade. Top Hat and Tails overtaking the Country Gentry. Tweed surely chafing. On the outside, Maggie and her cuppa. Into the home straight, it's Danny's Stag 2 clawing their way up the field. Nan's got the experience, but does she have the legs? But it's the bloke who doesn't know which horse is his. He's won it, and he doesn't even know it. It's the fans that make racing what it is. Coral, we're here for it.
Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Timeform.
First race on the card today, the JCB Triumph Hurdle. No Sergino. He's one of the non-runners. 8 and 11 don't go here, but 12 do, and Stormheart's 100 to 30 favourite. Paul Townend on board. Carjess is 9 to 2, and Majborough 5 to 1, and 6 to 1 Bunting Nürburgring, a 6-1 shot as well. Salva 17-2 in the 11th. Salvatore Mundi, Mighty Bandit 14s, 22-1, and bigger the rest at 12 runners then in the JCB Triumph Hurdle this afternoon that gets us underway. The main contenders in this race, Cargess, Stormheart and Majborough, they all met last time out in the McCann Fitzgerald Spring Juvenile Hurdle at Leopardstown. They had a good race between them. Cargess winning by a length and a quarter, and another half a length further back to Majborough back in 3rd place. So those are the 3 main contenders there. If I can just reveal Majborough for you, who finished 3rd last time. Mark Walsh will be on board the 1-3 in the betting, trained by Willie Mullins. Here's Niall.
Thanks, Angus. Yeah, I suppose the spring hurdle is one we've got to get straight into. 6 of them ran in it, and very little separates a lot of them. One good jump.
Yeah, there was very little between them, Niall, and it's interesting that there's plenty of horses that maybe could be potential improvers to come from the race. It's interesting, Stormheart was the choice of Paul Townend on that day. It's the choice of Paul Townend again today, so that has to be a vote of confidence. Cargess was the winner on the day. Danny Mullins was on board. He's on board her again. And there's a couple of other interesting ones from the Willie Mullins team. Salvatore Mundi, who got very close to Sergino.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in 332 days.
It's not an ideal prep. He's got a first-time hood on as well. Brian Hayes is on board, but the fact he got so close to Sergino is interesting in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you at Leopardstown that day?
I was.
Marshborough, I've just read comments that he looks like a big strapping 3-mile chaser, and you're just thinking for conditions today, it's quite blustery. We know that it's heavy all round in the hurdle course. It sounds like he might be able to handle the conditions for a 4-year-old better than some.
Yeah, he certainly could, Niall. He really impressed me. He's got a massive, big, strong physique, and there's probably plenty of filling into his frame still yet to do, but this was his Irish debut. He was a little bit keen in the early stages of the race, and Mark Walsh let him go to the front where he settled much better on front. Stormheart, for me, in the Gigginstown colours, I'm just not sure if he actually jumps well enough. He's economical, he just gets from A to B, but he doesn't make any ground in the air, I don't think. Cargess was very keen on her Irish debut, settled an awful lot better in this occasion, and Danny Mullins loomed up. She's got really good tactical speed and got a high cruising speed as well. In behind, Bunting in the blue colours.
Keep an eye on that, because he just keeps working away, finishes 4th in the end.
Yeah, and
he was outpaced too, out badly.
It's a very eye-catching run, in fairness, off the back of an impressive maiden hurl win in Limerick. Yeah, he just ran around a little bit after the back of the last. And Ethical Diamonds is another one who was dropped in, settled a lot better, and flew home as well. As you said, Niall, there's very little that separates some of these. Cargess gets that £7 mare's allowance. She comes here with rock solid form, but she potentially could be opposable. She could be vulnerable. The fact that some of these might just step forward again.
Is she a bit gassy? She looks at in a race. I wonder how she'll take the Razzmatazz in this place.
The prelims and go down to the start.
She'll need to settle a bit better.
She will have to settle, and I know Danny Mullins, obviously his intentions was to jump out and make it that day in Leopardstown, and Marshborough was too keen and he went to the front. And in fairness to Cargess, she did settle when she got cover and she was slotted in on the rail by Danny Mullins. I was impressed by the way she's improved from race to race, and there is potential for her to step forward again. I think it's a wide open race, but Marshborough was the one I was most impressed with on the day.
And I'll come to you, Nat. That's a key piece of form. Keep going back to Marshborough and Bunting. The way Bunting, a few things went wrong for Stormheart and Bunting, but he just looks like he's going to keep working away and working away.
Yeah, he does, and I think that's really the key to trying to solve the puzzle. I think if you're going to have a view on this race, it's clear that is kind of your key form line. There isn't a great deal between them, so you're looking for a couple of clues. Who might improve most just generally, and who might be most suited by what is a different test this afternoon. I think the two horses that could come up on that score are Marshborough and Stormheart. Stormheart on account of an increased test of stamina. He looks like a horse that is going to steer very well. I think the testing ground is in his favour. As Lisa said, maybe his jumping isn't a massive asset, but you do a lot more galloping than jumping at the back end of this race, and I think if he's okay at that point, then being able to wind up and use his galloping ability will definitely stand him in good stead under the conditions.
So in the final 5 furlongs.
Yeah, two in the last 6 or something, is it? Yeah. It's 3/4 of a mile and just a couple of flights of hurdles to jump. So I think that is something that could play to his favour at this track. Majborough, I think the reason that he might improve is just the fact that when he was beaten in the Spring Juvenile, he was having his first start of the campaign. The others had generally had a run. It was his first start for the yard, and he might just do a little bit better. And you can see even on the video that he's a big strapping horse and a strong individual that you would think, for all that he might fill out and get stronger in time, would be suited by a strong test. So they'd be the 2 out of that race that I'd probably be looking for.
Okay, if you watch the Fred Winter for the 4-year-olds on Tuesday, 1 English horse completed the course.
Yeah.
So it looks like, but Gary Moore's horse, Salver, will absolutely thrive on conditions. Wherever he finishes and whatever happens, we will not blame the ground.
No, you won't. I mean, his jumping wasn't very sharp at Haydock, was it? Particularly late on. He was scrappy, really.
In a race that I thought it was just a muddling race. And
they walked early, didn't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
and he was keen and that had to go on with him and whatnot. But
you're better judging him really on Chepstow, aren't you? But
yes.
I think the long and the short of it really is that the British juveniles don't stack up against the Irish ones. Mullins had the first 4 home in the Triumph last year. As you mentioned, the Fred Winter, the British team just didn't figure at all. So it's been the way for a while that the Irish dominate this division.
What I will say, the handicapper's rate of 128th, which leaves him a fair way short of a lot of the Irish. Now, granted, they've only had a few sort of chances to see them, but I do think he would have made an appeal of 128th at Fred Winter.
Yeah, and then I suppose it's interesting that he didn't go down that route.
Yeah.
And Gary Moore, who knows what he's doing,
absolutely
decided this was the place to come. He's unbeaten. He will enjoy the conditions, but just find it hard to believe that form is as good as what the Irish form is going to be bringing into it.
Salvador Mundi, it's not an ideal prep. 1 run chasing home Sergino. It makes an eye-catching piece of form, but Paul Townend's picked Storm Hard. Interesting to see him in the paddock.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what he looks like, and as we mentioned, he's got that first-time hood on as well. We've seen Willie apply a few first-time hoods in the last few days as well, but it's concerning that we haven't seen him for a while, and it's probably not the ideal preparation coming into this, but all the same, he's interesting for the same colours that are obviously had the Antipodes favourite in Sergino. Another one to give a quick mention to is Nürburgring, Joseph O'Brien, who's already been on the scoreboard so far this week. He's a previous Grade 3 winner at Fairyhouse. He's a horse that will be really suited to this track, I think, and he's one that will do really well for a good strong pace. I think he could be good each way value. He's got bags of stamina. He probably didn't really get the run of the race behind Cargeese and Cala Conti back in Leopardstown at Christmas, but I think he could be good each way value.
I want to mention Fratas. Big day for Michael Mulvaney.
Yeah.
Tell us about him. He seems to he just wins with sort of ordinary horses, but he places them well to win.
Yeah, he stands some of his own sires as well, and it's fantastic for him to be able to show up in the Triumph with a horse like this. He's obviously done very little wrong so far in what we've seen of him over hurls, and he's got a nice rating on the flat as well. Michael Mulvaney is much more known for his flat horses than anything, and he does very well throughout the season with them. So Dara O'Keefe is on board, and hopefully he can run a solid race for them.
Okay, sum it up.
Spring Juvenile form, I think, is going to prove the key. If it doesn't, then Nürburgring probably the one that might be suited by the test. I thought it was difficult, but Majborough would be the token selection.
Majborough for me, and I think I'm going to stick with the filly as well. I think Cargeese could run a good race. She's got that 7 pounds mare's allowance. She has to settle. I think she'll handle the ground as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the JCB Triumph Hurdle. It's now time to get back to Angus and check out the time form race of the day.
Yeah, time for race of the daytime here on Racing TV, and of course it is the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup this afternoon. Due off at 3:30, 3¼ miles the trip. Billy Nash from Timeform joins me. How are you, Billy? How's your week been?
My week has been okay, Angus. It could always be better. We always want a bit more, you know. So hopefully, I've, really looking forward to today. Where some cracking action today, and the Gold Cup itself looks a really good race.
It does, yeah. Galopin now a shade of odds on 10 to 11. Do you think that's fair enough, looking at your ratings?
I think looking at the ratings, it is fair. If you look at it, he's 8 pounds clear on our ratings. There's a big gap between Galopin Deschamps at the top and Jungle Boogie down at the bottom there. So yeah, you can see he's 8 pounds clear. He's clearly the standout in this field. There's only 3 symbols in the race. Fast or Slow has a plus in his rating. Hasn't had many races at this sort of trip. There might be a little bit more to come from him. Gentleman's Game obviously is inexperienced. He's only had 3 runs over fences, so he might improve a small bit. And Monkfish, most unusual prep for a Gold Cup. This fella hasn't jumped a fence in public for nearly 3 years, but he was a very good chaser back in the day. It's hard to know how much ability he retains. He might advance his rating a small bit today, but even still, it looks a very stiff ask for him.
It does. I mean, the ratings are very clear, aren't they, Billy? But the ground, the way it's going to ride, can throw them into chaos a little bit.
It certainly can. It's going to be a fascinating tactical battle. I don't think the ground is going to affect Galopin Des Champs in the slightest. We saw at Leopardstown over Christmas. He really appreciated the deep ground that day, so it's not a worry for him. It'll be more of an issue maybe for some of the horses behind him, the likes of Fast or Slow. I think he's probably better on better ground. Corrick Rambler, as we know, even though he won on heavy way back in his novice hurdle days, his best form lately is on a sounder surface. It brings horses like Jockey into the reckoning because it's going to turn into a test of stamina. It'll suit him. You've Nassalam in there, obviously, was very impressive in really bad ground in the Welsh National, the Chepstow. It'll suit him as well. So I think it's going to be quite a well-run race. And like you said, the ground is going to put stamina at a premium here, which won't upset the favourite in the slightest, I would imagine.
He stays really well, doesn't he? He's better in the second half of his races normally, isn't he?
He is, yeah. If you look through his time form ledger, he's got what we call an R, a handicapping symbol. It signifies a horse that finishes strongly, and he finishes strongly pretty much every day he goes out. We saw it in the Gold Cup here last year where, let's face it, lots of things didn't go his way. He didn't jump particularly well, but he was so strong from the last home. We saw it again at Leopardstown, both over Christmas and at the Dublin Racing Festival. He's really strong at the end of his races. He stays really well, so I'm sure Paul Townend will be delighted if they go a good gallop. We saw the last couple of times where he just seems a happier horse when he's racing closer to the pace. I don't expect him to make the running today, especially with the likes of the real whacker in the field, who's a confirmed front runner. Nassalam will be prominent, Jerry Calam will be prominent, but Paul will be sitting close to the pace. He'll be hoping that they go a good gallop. And like I said, whether they go fast or slow, see what I did there, Angus, it won't really upset Galopin Des Champs because he's such a versatile horse. And, I think unless something goes amiss with him here, I think it's very hard to see him getting beaten.
Yeah, jockeys have been riding to conditions, haven't they, all week? We've had plenty of races where horses have finished their races quite strongly, and I suspect it'll be the same here.
Oh, you'd imagine so. I mean, they're sensible lads here, so they're not going to go a breakneck gallop, but at the same time, they'll want it to turn into a test. Certainly some of them will want to turn into a test. Like I said, somebody like Jack Kennedy, he won't want them hacking in the early stage of the race. Long Press is another one, a horse that stays really well. So they'll still want to go a decent gallop, but like you said, they'll be sensible about it. But, we saw in the Kim Muir yesterday, these conditions do take their toll. Expect this race is going to take about 7 minutes, maybe 7 minutes plus to run, which is significantly more than it took last year. So they really will have to stay. And like you said, that shouldn't affect the favourite.
No, there's a fair few negatives for plenty of them, but there seems to be none for him. Is that the time form position?
Well, sure, look, there's no such thing as a certainty in racing. As we saw with El Fabiolo in the Queen Mother the other day, loads of things can happen. But all things being equal, it's very hard to see Galopin Des Champs beaten. He does seem to have loads in his favour, and he's just a very, very good horse who comes here at the peak of his powers. He's right, he's an 8-year-old, so he should be in his absolute prime at the moment. And hopefully he will see the real Galopin Des Champs today. He'll put on a bit of a show, I hope.
Yeah, it'd be great if he was a spectacular winner, wouldn't it? Looking forward to it. 3:30 this afternoon. I hope you have a good day, Billy. Thanks a lot.
You too, Angus. Thanks a million.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, we're down here in the pre-parade ring. These are the saddling boxes. Big afternoon coming up for all the trainers, all the jockeys, Ruby. And I'd say there's a bit of a calm before the storm here. Definitely a storm earlier, anyway.
Yeah, a storm earlier. I was right in the storm last night, but all very quiet now, Jess, but it won't stay quiet for long.
Yeah, we came back with a bit of a vengeance yesterday, the Brits. How did you view yesterday as a spectacle? With the ground being as it was, I thought the jockeys rode some very good races, considering.
Yeah, it was good racing to watch. Even from the first race, obviously Grey Dawning and Jeannie's Destiny. Harry Skelton probably feeling he had more stamina than Harry Cobden and went at him good and early, and then he had Harry Cobden and Mon Miral coming from the back to win the Per Thames final. Thought Harry Skelton you know, went into the gap on Protectorate and sat long enough to you know, give himself enough gas to get home. I thought it was good riding up and down. Jack Kennedy very cool on Chupu, Derek O'Connor on, I know the way you're thinking in the last. I'd love to have known what way he was thinking after going a mile. But yeah, it was good to watch, really good.
I've heard you say it's all about patience, tactics, confidence. But when tactics go out the window for Derek O'Connor and his horse jumps one side, he gets pushed back a bit, how much confidence do you have to have the patience to sort of let the race ride in front of you?
It's concentration then.
Yeah.
To concentrate on the race you're riding in and not start thinking about instructions and what you're not doing. It's to concentrate on what you have to do and not block everyone else out of your mind, I suppose. That becomes concentration. Then you do need a bit of confidence, but you probably have to trust yourself. It was like Harry Cobden referenced it in the Per Thames final when he looked at Harry Skelton in front of him on the Milos. He kind of thought, well, I can't be too far. I'm not going. They must be going as quick as I think they are.
Yeah.
That would often happen. You'd look around and see who's around you and think, well, if they're here, we must be somewhere in the right place.
And this last year happened with Paul Townend on Galopin Des Champs. He said it went from plan A, B, C, D, but he was still cool enough to have the confidence of his horse. Do you think, in terms of the tactics when it comes to this year around, he changes things, he looks at it in a different way, because you know anything can happen?
I'd say he does. I'd say with the last twice Galopin has made the running at Leopardstown, so I'd imagine he'll go forward. He doesn't have the front run, but I'd imagine he will go more forward than he did last year. But look, 11 runners really testing ground probably won't be a mad gallop. It's still a Gold Cup. It'll still be strong. You know, and there's a couple of horses in there who like to get about their business, so it'll still be a good gallop. But I think everything really points to Galopin Des Champs, Jess.
I do want to ask you about Monkfish. He's been an old favourite of mine. I don't think he's been given the credit for even standing up in this race as he deserves. He's obviously a horse with plenty of talent, but how much of a training feat has it been just for Willie to get him to where he is and have the confidence to put him in this race?
Yeah, look, obviously he got him back at the end of last season. He ran a few times over hurdles, and then this year he's had the one run in Gorham Park. Now, he was due to run in Tremor on New Year's Day in the race Jungle Book. He won, but he got an overreach schooling on New Year's Eve and couldn't run New Year's Day, so he ran in Gorham. The only race that fitted in then for him was Gorham, so he went to Gorham for the Thyestes. Willie didn't feel like pitching him into the Irish Gold Cup with no run under his belt, so he went to Gorham Park, and he's come here off the back of that. He schooled really well. Ruth Dudfield rides him every morning. She's delighted with him, and yeah, look, he had the potential to be a Gold Cup horse here 3 years ago when he won the novice chase. Who knows if he still won? He's
clearly a horse that's been able to take all the pressures of being a part of the Cheltenham routine. I would love to know a bit more about the last 3-4 weeks getting all these horses here. What is it that Willie does? How much does he sort of put a little bit more pressure on the horses to show that they can handle this kind of occasion?
No, it's not one rule fits all. Willie trains them as individuals, and some horses need more work and some horses need to be backed off, and that's, I don't know, maybe that's why training is, you know, some people try to make it scientific, but it really is an art, and you know, it's to realise that that needs another couple of bits of work, and that one's fit and ready, back off that one. You know, it's not one rule fits all.
Yeah, and then obviously for the younger horses in the Triumph Hurdle, we've seen the market change over the course of the last couple of hours. Stormheart's now overtaken Madgeborough. Is there one horse that you think that's ready for this, especially with the ground now heavy on the hurdle course?
I suppose if you're looking at it from that point of view, Bunting went to Limerick at Christmas, which is really testing ground, and he won there. Both him and Stormheart were only having their second run over hurdles at the Dublin Racing Festival. So was High Wind and, not Absurd, the other horse that Michael O'Sullivan rides. But, you know, the ones with the less runs, they might have improved more from the Dublin Racing Festival. Cargeese had a lot of runs. So you're looking for the one that could still be improving.
Yeah, absolutely. And overall, the shape of the day, we've still got plenty more big race rides to come for some of the younger types. When it comes to the end of the day, the Martin Pipe, the boys race, is that it must feel like an eternity getting to it. What would your advice be to a jockey of that nature, never probably even sat on a horse around Cheltenham? What goes through your mind in the weighing room all this afternoon waiting for it?
But I imagine they're, or I hope they are, fulfilling a lifetime ambition to be here in Cheltenham, to be in the Wareham on Gold Cup Day, to be looking across the Wareham at Harry Cobden and Paul Townend and Jack Kennedy and Rachel Blackmore and wanting to be them. That's what a young jockey should be doing, in my mind anyway. I know when I went in there and it was Richard Dunwoody and Norman Williamson, AP, Paul Carberry, I wanted to be those guys.
Yeah.
and it was a thrill to be in there.
Yeah, we've seen some incredible performances. Has there been obviously Willie's 100 must be a memory that will sit with you and the rest of the team forever, but how do you sum up this week? How do you look at it in terms of a bigger picture? What's been